Good afternoon. Good afternoon again, Rotarians and guests. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Toledo. Thank you for joining us today. As we get started, I'd like to acknowledge Allied Media as this month's meeting sponsor and thank Rotarian Phil Marissy. I know I saw Phil in the room earlier today. There he is. Thank you, Phil. All right, before we get started, let's take a quick moment to do your check-ins on membership engagement. If you haven't already, let's throw the QR code up there. We've been doing really well on these. In about a minute, I'm going to have Zara come up and give us a report on how we're doing on our membership check-ins. But first, please, if Kelly Train would mind, if she could come up to the podium and deliver our reflection and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thanks, Kelly.
Please join me in prayer. Dear God, we thank you for the many blessings in our lives. Thank you for watching over us and filling us with your goodness and grace. Please also be with our families and our children, especially the most vulnerable. Watch over them and protect them. Fill their caregivers with wisdom, grace, and understanding. In your name we pray. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. And I know, I'm sorry, didn't give you guys very much time to do your pictures with your check-ins. Sometimes I'm like super efficient. So feel free to take your pictures right now as you're doing your check-ins. And while you're doing that, Zara Collins is going to come up and give us a report on the leaderboard for this.
Hello, fellow Rotarians. Are you excited? I'm excited. You guys have been awesome. As of October 31st, we have had 474 check-ins. Yay, everybody give your... That means that you're engaged. That means that you're participating. And if you haven't seen yourself in a picture on social media, get your picture in so that it can get on social media. As of the 31st, we have a top 12. Yeah, and of course, congratulations to Mark at 485 points. And next up is Scott with 235 points. However, neither one of them are eligible for gifts at this time. So congratulations to Carol and is that Janina Douglas, who are tied at 220 engagement points. Yay. So Jackie's got an awesome gift for you that is on her desk in the Rotary office. So you'll get that next week unless you see her sometime in between there at the Rotary office. But I just want to say our top 50 club, thank you for your participation. Let's keep it up. We have quite a few members that are at 50 plus points. And I'm just going to put it out there. I'm putting a target on Mark's back. Come on, let's outdo Mark. We need to get up there. So make sure that we're checking in. Get the extra points by taking a picture and uploading that picture. And just make sure that you don't forget to check in. That's how you get your points. I know I'm missing points because there are times that I didn't check in. And we just need to make sure that we're checking in. So thank you all for participating. And once again, give yourselves a round of applause because we're doing very well this year.
So, and if you want to know how it is that Mark, the fix is not in on Mark. Mark goes to a lot of district conferences, all right, as do Carol, as do Janina. And so those district conferences are worth more points. And that's how I think he's jumped up and up and up because oh my gosh, he's I think some of them made 25 and 35 points. So by making the district conferences like that, that's why he's killing it. So if any Rotarian is interested in going to a district conference, you're more than welcome. They have a lot of local ones, they'll be in Lima or they're usually fairly close by and they're a great learning experience. They teach you about DAC-DB, they teach you more about the community efforts as well as operational, how Rotary operates internally, things like that. So they're great. Keep your eyes out from the District 6600 emails to find out if you want to attend one of those. As for me, obviously being president is more than gift enough, so thank you all for that opportunity. I really appreciate it. All right, next I'd like to invite Actually, the Jim and Leslie Vassar up to the stage, as well as the entire Vassar Golf Outing Committee, if you wouldn't mind coming up, as well as Murph, for a presentation of the check from the Jim Vassar Memorial Golf Outing.
I so think I have food in my teeth right now, so don't look too closely. Okay, I'm Leslie Vassar, and I'm happy to be here again this year to present to Rotary a check from the proceeds from the Jim Vassar Memorial Golf Tournament. As many of you know, Jim was an enthusiastic Rotary member for quite a few years before he passed 12 years ago. So we are having this tournament just to keep paying forward to the things that he felt were important to him. So we've raised in total over $200,000. And this year's event, since the start, this year we will be giving our 3 charities each $4,000 towards the causes that are important to you. So we're super thankful to be here and really appreciate the participation from Rotarians in the event. And we will be having another event next year. And I forgot to look at the date. September 12th, we'll tee off at 9 a.m. So put that down on your calendar and try to join us. We really work hard to be a super fun event and to raise money for some really good causes. So thanks again for having us today.
And there is some drinking going on at that golf outing, so come on in.
I've attended the Vassar Golf Outing before, and it's a great event. It was fantastic. So please put it on your calendars. And thank you, Leslie, and everyone on the committee. Thank you again for your contribution to our foundation. We really appreciate it in Jim's memory. Before we start today, I also wanted to inform the club that the club board and the foundation trustees approved last week basically a message to our community about supporting those suffering from food insecurity during this time when SNAP benefits may either not happen or will be delayed in some way. I think it's really important that Rotary, since one of our tenants is maternal and child health, Rotary Internationals, and these are communities that we need to help in their time of need. So not only do we encourage all Rotarians to provide what they can in terms of time, treasure, and talent, but we've also opened up our emergency grant funding policies to this purpose. And so we've announced that organizations that are assisting people with food insecurity can apply for a one-time up to $10,000 grant. We have several applications already. We're looking at organizations especially involving children, and so we're hoping to be able to get that money out the door to help those communities. So I just want to let the club know about that, and if you have any opportunity, I think all of us can play a role, and whatever that role is for you, please step up and provide. I appreciate it. All right, so let's get to today's program. Dr. Christie Jenkins has been working in the social service field for over 30 years. She began working in domestic violence safe houses as a child advocate, life skills trainer, crisis intervention specialist, and a court advocate. She has also been working as a counselor for over 20 years. She is independently licensed in 2 states with a supervisory designation in the state of Ohio. She is a nationally certified counselor. She has been a professor for 21 years, including 16 years at Walden University. She is the CEO of the Family and Child Abuse Prevention Center, and she has over 21 years of experience working with a vast array of clientele in the inner city of Toledo. She has presented locally at the state level and nationally and international levels on various topics affecting counselors and their clients. She's published in 26 journal articles, book chapters, and online publications. She's also the clinical expert for a podcast called Post Ugly. She has appeared on countless news and radio programs and is very active in professional organizations for counselors, including she serves as the current president for the Association of Humanistic Counseling. She's an advanced training in TF, CBT, EMDR, and animal-assisted therapy. And please welcome to the stage Dr. J, as I've been told she is called.
Sorry about that. All right, they told me how to turn all this on. They're waiting with bated breath over there to make sure I can do this correctly. So, I am the CEO of the Family and Child Abuse Prevention Center, and for those of you who don't know about us, we are in between Mercy St. V's Heart Center and Catholic Central. So, Central Catholic. It's Catholic Central in Michigan. That's where I'm from. So we have been at that location since about 2009. It used to be a Joseph's Beverage Center, and before that it was Job and Family Services. So a lot of folks don't know who we are until they need us, and so we're going to tell you all about us today. So we were founded in 1974. We're a local nonprofit. We have served tens of thousands of individuals each year, and I'll get into all the different programming. One of our biggest years within the past decade, we served 50,000 members of our community. And we're funded by the United Way, federal, state, local grants, and foundation funding, and we do some fundraising as well. And the problem being that grants dry up, they go away, some folks get cut across the board. An example would be United Way funding this year was cut 25% for everybody who got grants. So that was a hard hit for us. And then we have a grant through Job and Family Services, and we got $40,000 cut from that. So just in those two grants alone, we're missing about $80,000 from our budget. And so every year it just gets harder and harder to do the good work that we're doing. And we're a very small agency. So we have about 40 employees. And so imagine 40 employees seeing tens of thousands of people within the community. So our mission is really to intervene and help folks with interpersonal violence. So we're the only agency in Northwest Ohio that serves the entire family when it comes to domestic violence. So we treat the perpetrator, we treat the survivor, we treat children, any non-offending caregivers, folks within foster care. So if we have foster parents that are taking on these children, we treat everyone. And so the CAC model, which is the Children's Advocacy, which is underneath the Family and Child Abuse umbrella, we have a multidisciplinary team approach, which is best practices. So we bring in all the players to the table. So we bring in law enforcement, children's services, medical teams, community services, so that we can all wrap around this family and help them to heal. So why is there a need for our organization? If you look at the statistics, 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys being sexually abused before they reach the age of 18, it's an epidemic. And I think for some people, they think, oh, it happens in those neighborhoods, it happens in those zip codes. You couldn't have those kind of statistics without it happening everywhere. And another thing is, I think when I was growing up, there was this stranger danger kind of thing, like, oh, don't talk to people that, roll up in a car, or watch out for the vans, or, all these, don't take candy. But what we found out from the research literature is that you're almost always going to know your perpetrator. So in 95% plus, we know them. It's somebody that we know and trust. And so that's how they get to these children. And there are nearly 4,000 child abuse investigations in Lucas County each and every year. So under the Family and Child Abuse Prevention Center is the Children's Advocacy Center. And so I'm going to get into this. So the reason that the Children's Advocacy Center came about was there was a prosecutor down south named Bud Kramer, and he was finding that child victims were being interviewed between 8 and 11 times on a child abuse allegation. So somebody makes an outcry at school to their teacher, they get the nurse, they get the counselor, they get the principal, they, grab somebody. So we're 5 deep just at the school. We haven't even called law enforcement, we haven't gone to the hospital, and so they're being interviewed over and over and over again. And so he had a little boy come into his office, and he said, tell me what happened to you. And the little boy said, don't y'all talk to each other? And he was like, what a novel concept. We need to all be talking to each other. And so that's how it came about, was that it was a one-stop shop where folks could all come together, get the story, and not re-victimize this child. So this is an example of what I'm talking about. Child makes outcry at school, they're calling all these different people, and then if you go to the other side, they come to the Children's Advocacy Center, they're interviewed one time in a very child-friendly place, and then that is disseminated to the other folks, and I'll get into that. So available services at the CAC: forensic interviews, medical exams, safety education, children witness violence, trauma counseling, services for our non-offending caregivers, community and professional education, and then all of those different things underneath there. So we can actually come to your business, your agency, and do some of these presentations like Steward of Children, because I think for a long time we've put the onus on the child, like, don't talk to strangers, don't do this, don't walk by yourself, where there are a lot of things that we as adults can do. So if your child is taking a drum lesson in a basement somewhere and you're not allowed to sit there and watch that, that's problematic. You make sure that you can go down there and you can watch that and you can be with your child. There's lots of things that are so common sense that we could be doing to make sure that our children are safe. And we have joint hospital team meetings, presentations within the community like today, and then we have a lending library. So if there's a certain subject matter that you need to present to your agencies, you let us know and we'll get that for you. So our forensic interviews, and you can see the top one is what I call our itty bitty room. And so you can see there's 2 chairs there. So that would be a child who has made an outcry and either law enforcement or children's services. And each of these entities has been specifically trained in beyond the silence method of interviewing. So it's fact-finding, non-leading, will hold up against a defense attorney. And so the interviews are meant to not scare the children, not lead them in any way, and just get the information that we need. And so we have Lucas County Children's Services, we have law enforcement, and we have one staff member who can do the interviews, who have been trained in that. The bottom interview room is what I call our teen room, and you can see there's a couch and a chair. It's far more relaxed because in our itty-bitty room up top, they might be coloring while we're interviewing them, or they might have an anatomical drawing that they're using, and so they're using that table very much. In the center there is our viewing room. So like I said, we're not overwhelming this child, so it would be one law enforcement or one children's services worker and the child, 2 people in this room. It's being digitally recorded. We tell the children, there's the cameras, there's the mic, you're being recorded, but this is just so that you don't have to keep telling your story. Then that recording is shared with prosecution, medical team, whoever could not make that meeting. And for the rest of them, they're sitting in there watching what's happening. And then they can also send questions in if there's questions that they want to be answered. Lastly, What is really cool about the Children's Advocacy Center is we have the FBI who comes down from Detroit, Michigan to help us with any human trafficking or child pornography cases. And so they come down and utilize our facilities. Our medical exams, this is our polar bear table. And so much of what we do is donated. And so Sylvania Dance for a Chance actually bought us this because, I mean, it's cute, all the things, but it's a $10,000 table. So we could never afford that on our own, but they put on a big fundraiser for us and got that for us. And it just makes the children feel so much better. Because can you imagine being an itty bitty? The average age of a sexual abuse victim is 9. You're 9, and now you have to go to the hospital in the middle of the night. It's sterile. There's 1,000 people there. Everything's going on. No, you come to our agency, you're taken right back, and that's what you see. And with our medical exams, I think that folks sometimes think it's invasive, and it's not. We use what's called a coposcope, and so we take high-powered pictures, and then that is used as evidence in the case. So safety education, when I tell you that we see tens of thousands of folks in our community, how we do that is we have a child abuse prevention program, and we're in almost all Toledo public, parochial, Christian schools, and we do what's a safe and unsafe touch, who's somebody you can tell if you're being abused, private parts. I mean, the things that I have heard over the years of the names that folks give to things. If you take away one thing today, please, if you have children, please name their private parts the appropriate. And I'll tell you why. I'll give you a prime example. When I first started at the CAC, there was somebody who had named their daughter's private parts a pocketbook, okay? And so she went to her grandfather's house, and she had said, "Oh, is it okay that Grandpa is in my pocketbook?" And Mom said, "Well, yeah, if Grandpa wants to be in your pocketbook," or she's thinking it's a purse. She's not thinking it's a vagina, okay? And so when we don't name them appropriate things, bad things happen. And I know, and I think I see a priest over here. I was raised Catholic, so we didn't talk about these things, right? But we have to talk about these things because children are at risk, okay? And the safety strategies, the 2 safe adults, it's really, really incredibly important that we're doing this so that our children have the best ability to tell us. And working on feelings, identifying those feelings, and how is someone coping. If we notice that our gregarious child that was always so happy-go-lucky is now failing in school and they're isolating, we need to be asking those rich questions. So we have a Children Who Witness Violence program, and we see kids 3 to 18. They're available, they can come for 5 to 8 sessions, and it's really just helping them overcome the trauma of witnessing domestic violence and that exposure, and how to keep them safe. How do they dial 911? What is a safe place to go to? If parents are fighting in a kitchen or a bathroom, you need to go hide because there's too many weapons in those 2 rooms. Trauma counseling, so this is for our sexual abuse victims, and they are seen from 12 to 15 sessions. We do trauma-focused CBT, and we do EMDR. So our folks are very, very specifically trained. Most of our clinicians have been at the agency for 16 or more years. And we also, again, wrap around them, get them the resources that they need within the community. So non-offending caregivers, this is a really cool program. We never close them out. So folks, maybe a child sexually abused at 4, and they're now 12 and they're having some sexual acting out behaviors. And so they call us up and we get them right back in because they're like, is this normal developmental stuff that any kid would go through, or is this because of the sexual abuse? And so just increasing that knowledge, increasing knowledge of sexual predators, because sometimes parents don't see the signs, and increasing coping skills for the parent and child, because so many parents are like, I cannot believe I didn't see that, I didn't know that, how would I not see the difference? And so just helping them to get the support that they need. Bob the Beagle, this is my fat cow up here, okay? So he is very specifically trained in animal-assisted therapy. So during COVID, it took us 2.5 years. There were days when, sweet baby Jesus, I did not think he was going to make it through at all. He just tried so hard to do all the things, but he's a beagle, so he was very food motivated and wanted to smell everything, but he did. And what's so cool about animal-assisted therapy is the kids might not want to tell me what happened or another clinician. They'll raise his ear and they'll tell him what happened to them. So it's an incredible program. So just some things about animal-assisted therapy with rapport building, comfort, support, non-judgmental, lots of safety, and just normalizing coming to treatment. And down below is Nala. She was our animal-assisted therapy dog for a decade. So she did an incredible amount of work with our kiddos. And then also for us at the center. So these are all employees here. So we just get so excited when the dog comes in and get to have just that downtime, because the nature of what we do can lead a lot of folks to burnout. And so having these extras is really important. So underneath the umbrella, we have a lot of programs. So I highlighted the Children's Advocacy Center because it's fiercely focused on children, which I know is a big hub here for the Rotary. But underneath the umbrella is the DV Court Advocacy Program. So we're in Lucas and Ottawa County. And what we do is we walk somebody through the court process. So for instance, their partner abused them the night before and they have to go to Toledo Municipal Court. Well, they've never been in trouble in their whole life. They don't know what that looks like. We walk them through getting a protection order, a safety plan. We assess for dangerousness. We get them the resources that they need in case they need to go to a shelter. A lot of folks leave a domestic violence relationship with the clothes on their back. And so what's really cool about our programming that I was talking about earlier is it's free. So it's donation-driven, grant-funded, all the things, so that they can come in and get the services that they need, and they don't need an insurance card, they don't need a diagnosis. Like, we can take them in and immediately see them, and we get folks in within 1 to 2 weeks. And if you look at some of the bigger community health agencies within the community, it can take 2 to 3 months to be seen. And so we are really able to get them in while everything is going on and get them the services that they need. We have an early intervention, which was previously called Help Me Grow. And so people will say all the time, well, interpersonal violence, how does Help Me Grow fit in there? These are kiddos 0 to 3 with developmental delays and disabilities. They're at an exponential rate of being abused because the parents are so stressed out and don't know how to handle all of these things that it's not a typical child. So maybe this child cries from the moment it opens its eyes to the moment it goes to sleep. And so just wrapping around them and getting them the services that they need so the children are not abused. Project Access, I talked about the child abuse prevention program in all the schools. We're also over at JFS, and so we do case management with our domestic violence survivors who need to find a job, do a resume, find housing, so helping them in that capacity. Long-term services, And this is after that immediate crisis counseling. So we say 5 to 8 sessions, 12 to 15 sessions. After that, if we notice that, hey, they still have a lot of needs, then we send them to long-term services. We have Survivor to Thriver for our domestic violence survivors. We have parenting classes, which has a really cool component where you can digitally record the lesson that you're doing with the parents, play it back for them and say, you notice you got a little upset when your child did this, and like it's a really good learning experience for them. And then we have med-som services. Now that's another one. We do not have enough psychiatrists in this area. And so oftentimes when folks need med-som services, they're out 3 to 4 months. And so we can usually get them in within 2 to 3 weeks to be seen. We have a psychiatric nurse practitioner on site. And then case management, as I talked about, and then long-term counseling. So if they did the 12 to 15 sessions, but there's still a lot going on, we would continue to see them long-term. Because what happened in the past is we would send them out to our 3 biggies, right? Unison, Harbor, Zeph. And sometimes they would be on a wait list, or sometimes it was too far for them to go from their household, whatever the rationale may be. But if you look at the statistics, just if you look at the research, 50% of people drop off anyway, best case scenario, drop off when you send them somewhere else. And so we keep them in-house and we're able to continue to serve them. And then we have a batterer intervention program. This I'm very proud of because I can get survivors out of domestic violence situations. But if we don't treat the batterer, they're gonna go find 6 more victims, okay? And so we have to stop that where it starts. And so we have a batterer intervention program, which is 26 weeks long. When they finish and complete successfully, the recidivism rate is less than 10%. When you look at research literature, 1% of batterers change on their own. That's 1 out of 100. And so if we graduate 100 people, 90 of them are not reoffending. And when I say reoffending, I'm not just talking about assault or domestic violence. I'm talking DUI, theft, whatever it is. We look for anything across the board. And so we're incredibly proud of that program. We've been doing it for over a decade, and the statistics say the same. It's about 7 to 8% recidivism rate. So this is a video that I have, and my little friends over there are gonna help me play this. All right.
In the nation, there are 3 million reports of child abuse every year. The Surgeon General a number of years ago declared child abuse and neglect a national emergency.
When we think about 1 in 4 women being a victim of domestic violence in her lifetime, that's your mother, that's your sister, that's your neighbor, that's your coworker. So it's happening everywhere.
Family violence and child abuse, it doesn't have a particular face. It doesn't matter whether you're rich or you're poor. It's something that goes on in the community on a daily basis. And sometimes we don't even know about what's going on inside the families.
Family violence is also to things like teen pregnancy, decrease in graduation rate, mental health issues, and a whole host of other issues.
We are the only organization in Northwest Ohio solely dedicated to the issue of family violence, not only helping those who have already been abused, but helping to prevent violence from ever occurring in the first place.
We serve between 2 counties about 55,000 clients a year. So we provide domestic violence court advocacy, a child abuse prevention program within the school system. We're in all Toledo schools. We have a children's advocacy center, which we have a victim family advocate. We perform forensic interviews, a medical program where children who report that they have been sexually abused can come and have an examination. We have Children Who Witness Violence program, and we have the crisis counseling program. We have an animal-assisted therapy dog, and she comes to the center about twice a week and works with our survivors of abuse. Animal-assisted therapy is a great adjunct to treatment.
We could not do without on our services because a lot of times the police department is not a conducive place to interview children at. The setting makes the interview just a little bit more comfortable for the children, a little bit more comfortable for the victims, and that's really what it's all about.
It's important we have a place where children can come and can have joint investigations, have police officers, caseworkers, attorneys, guardian ad litem, all members of the multidisciplinary team participate, so children only talk about it once, opposed to having to talk about it several times.
We are funded here by a number of grants that we receive at the local and state level. We are also funded United Way and Lucas County Children's Services. The problem being that many of these grants are on a step-down process. So we may be at 50% this year, and next year we'll be at 25% until we're completely taken off of the grants. So there are always holes to fill every single year, and it's only through the generosity of the community that we're able to continue to do what we do.
The Family and Child Abuse Prevention Center is one of those places where your money is well used. We have a group of people here who are compassionate and understand exactly what children are going through. They are experts at helping to set the children at ease, allowing the multidisciplinary team to collect the information they need in order to help protect the children.
This agency helped me and my family in a huge way. I was so intimidated by the court system, and it's hard coming out of an abusive situation. I was in mine for 15 years. I have 5 children. Feeling like I had somebody there for me that thought I was important, that cared about me and my children. It was wonderful. It's helped me get on track with the rest of my life. I've started school. I'm getting a job. My children are in school, and everything is turning out great.
We believe that society has the power to prevent family violence.
By working together to prevent violence today,
We can build stronger families for tomorrow.
To do that,
we need you.
We need you.
We need you.
we need you.
To do that, we need you.
Okay, so that's just a little snippet about our big agency that does so much with so little. So I wanted to open this up. That's my information, that's my email address, that's our website, that's my phone number at the agency, and then obviously our Facebook page. But what questions do you have?
Dr. J, I'm back here, actually. I have a question for you. Thank you so much for coming and sharing with us about this wonderful resource in our community. My curiosity is, say that there was a child who experienced abuse, parents didn't know about it, lived their life, now into their adulthood, they're facing the abuser / addressing the abuse and the lifelong items that come with abuse. Is there a 2-part question? Number 1, is there adult resources for if someone is still, processing that? So that's the first question. Number 2, children that have been through the program, is there a follow-up for adulthood support as they come into their own?
Right, so what we found, and this was actually clinically fascinating to me, was I would have assumed that parents who had been sexually abused would have been hypervigilant and so protective of their child, like you can't go to a sleepover, you can't do all the things. But the great majority of the parents who brought in children who had been sexually abused had been sexually abused themselves. And so we really needed to get them into their own services, and so we do that all the time. And then the second part, with the getting adult services, only 30% of people who have ever been sexually abused disclose it. So, and we have those statistics when we look at things like the ACE study, which is anonymous, and folks will say, yes, I was sexually abused, I never told anybody. And so once we find out that that's an issue, we absolutely take them in. And that's why we have great things like trauma-focused CBT and EMDR to help with that long-standing trauma.
Marvelous. Thank you so much. And EMDR, wowza. But yes, fabulous. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon. Wonderful presentations, and we know the FBI office in Toledo is very helpful with those activities that are in Toledo as well. My question is, with the cyber attacks of predators who attack children through the games, we all know Roblox and AI and all of that. Can you share a little bit what's your experience and what potential program of prevention can be? Or maybe educational for parents like us. I have an 8 years old and she plays Roblox every day, so.
Yeah, you definitely have to keep an eye on those chats. That's where all of this is happening. And I've seen it with my own children, where somebody's like, hey, how old are you? And I'm like, delete, bye. Like, we're not doing this at all, so stay out of the chats. But when there is a problem, we get the police involved, and then if it's beyond the police, we'll get the FBI involved.
Little follow-up. Is there trainings that parents can attend, or maybe a school initiatives where some examples can be? Because the example with a pocket book is very relevant with those two, because they introduce themselves as, you know, Flower 2022 or something like that in those chats, and kids call them trolls. But we hear clearly sometimes on the back noise that those are not just trolls, those are sexually motivated
Absolutely,
predators.
perpetrators, yes, for sure. And so I think there's all kinds of apps that you can also put on your child's phone and iPad to see exactly what's going in, and it will alert you to those types of things. And we have a lot of resources at the agency, so send me an email and I will forward that to you.
Hello, Dr. J. Rob Pasker here. Thank you for being here. I have a two-part question.
Yeah.
So from your experience, how does economic hardship or poverty relate to increasing the abuse? And also on the flip side, what can our public and our private leaders do? What mechanisms do you recommend to foster safer, more stable homes for our families here?
Yeah, so I would say a great indication of that was during COVID. And so there were some statistics that came out during COVID that said that child abuse was down. And I thought, there's no way in the universe that that is accurate. And what we found was that people were sheltering in place with their abusers. And so they didn't have a voice or a choice. They weren't going to school, so they couldn't tell their teacher, they couldn't tell their coach. They weren't doing after-school activities, and somebody noticed they had a black eye, you know? And so what we had to do was kind of have a paradigm shift and tell teachers that were on the live streams with these students, look, does stuff look messed up in the background? Do they have any bruising? Are they acting very withdrawn? And so we've had to really pay attention to that. Now, obviously, as you know, with food insecurity being a thing and the SNAP benefits going away, if you don't have your basic needs, if you think of like, you know, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if we don't have food and shelter and those kind of things, how are we ever going to be productive members of society? We can't, because we're just trying to survive. And so I think making sure that we're doing what we can in our community. My agency right now is doing a food drive. And that's nothing that we really have ever done before, but we're seeing so many of our clients, because we do work in the inner city and we work with folks who couldn't get counseling unless it was free. And so they are struggling. And am I going to feed my child, or am I going to pay my electric bill? And so paying attention to that, and where do we put our time and talent into making sure that our community is okay?
Could you indicate how you interact with CSB? I know I've had to deal with CSB quite a bit. Could you describe just the interaction between yourself and CSB?
Yeah, for sure. So CSB is one of our main partners because what happens is a child makes an outcry, CSB goes out there, so they're the first responder. Then they say, I need you to go to the Children's Advocacy Center, I need you to have an interview, or I need you to get counseling, or whatever. So we get the referral in, and then that's when we start working with the children.
Hi, my name is Monique, and I was very happy to come because I was like, I hope this woman tells me something new, because I have tried to report some people for some child abuse stuff, and I went to the appropriate organizations, nothing happened. So I'm like, who really cares about the kids? Because, there's some teenagers I know that are in bad situations, there's some young kids I know, and then I'll report them, I'll tell the person's job, and everybody likes to hide and suppress this stuff, and that's why we have some of the crazy stories that have come out of Toledo lately with children. So I just want to know, if we come to you, I heard you mention the FBI and different things like that, if it has to go that high to where they're investigating certain companies and different things like that, because a lot of this stuff gets suppressed. And it doesn't matter how many emails, how many phone calls, they hide it.
Yeah, and so never stop reporting, okay? Because I think that folks think, oh my God, I called, they didn't do anything. When you call intake for Children's Services, they make a report of that. And so maybe it's not this time, maybe it's next time. Or maybe you call and then your neighbor calls and now they're going to do something about it. So please always continue to call. And another thing is, I think that we think that we need to investigate it. Like, oh, I don't have enough information, but he did have a black eye today. That's kind of weird. Well, maybe I'll wait it out or what. No, make the call, because you might be the only person advocating for that child. And if you have a situation like that, please reach out to me. I will help in any way that I can. I've also been on the flip side of that. I've had some really terrible emotional abuse cases, and I've called and they say, do they have a roof over their head? Do they have food in the refrigerator? And then it's not taken as seriously. But as we know, that emotional, psychological, mental abuse is the stuff that stays with you for the rest of your life. I could smack somebody right now and it's going to sting, and whatever, later on they're going to be okay, right? But I tell them day in and day out how terrible they are, and how that stuff sticks with you. And so we just have to keep having our voice heard. And I think recently, with those issues that we've had in our community, that people are more apt to listen to. So why not keep it going so that we are being heard?
Yeah. Dr. J, thank you again for your presentation. It's a very important subject, and we appreciate your time here today. In recognition of your time, we'd like to present you with a copy of a book by the name of Historical Tales of Toledo, which was written by one of our past presidents, Clint Mock. We will also we will also make a donation in your name to the Polio Plus Fund, which is Rotary International's effort to eradicate polio from the face of the planet. So thank you again for your time. We appreciate it. All right, next Monday, we will be here again, and we're going to host our annual Toledo Rotary Club Foundation Day. This year's event will tell the story of our impact locally, including a panel discussion featuring the Site Center of Northwest Ohio, Water for Ishmael, and the Inspiration Kitchen and Lot Industries. This will also be an opportunity, I think, for Rotarians to learn more about what the foundation does, how the foundation is structured, what we have in terms of resources, and what we provide to the community each year through our grant funding process. So I think it's a really important presentation to have. We've also decided this year, because various folks on our service committees have voiced some concern about the grant procedures and grant policies and process. And so after next week's presentation, we'll also do a discussion about the grant procedures and policies. So for those who want to learn more, about how the grants run and how they work and get some information. We will do that right after the meeting next week, so please join us for that. I also wanted to recognize the Jill of All Trades event that happened a couple of weeks ago. Thanks to Bethany Hefflinger and her committee. Thank you so much for putting that together. Also, last Friday, our President-elect Candace Harrison held the Foundation Advisory Committee, which was the first one of our 2 grant cycles. So that was a great meeting, and we appreciate the FACT's efforts. If you want to be more involved as a Rotarian in some of these efforts in the committees, please feel free. Please join the committees and their meetings. It's a great opportunity to see what we're doing. Also, Leslie, thank you again for being here. We appreciate your time. Thank you for the donation and your continued support to the Toledo Rotary Foundation. We really appreciate it. We have one committee meeting this afternoon. It's Program Committee, which will be in Summit A. And otherwise, hey, go out and unite some folks for good. We are adjourned.